think we are officially live for the first episode of Going Rogue.
Going Rogue.
Cheers, buddy.
Foul throws with professional amateurs.
There you go, with professional amateurs. And one day we'll have a logo, and we'll actually come up with an intro.
Yeah, if Haley ever gets off her ass.
God bless it. Haley, get your priorities straight.
Come on.
It's a real pain in the butt.
What's more important? Making money or...
entertaining your boyfriend and his friend.
Yeah.
It's clearly the latter. All right. So we should tell people what we're going to plan on doing with this first episode and where we hope this is going to go.
Yeah.
So the overall goal is for us to eventually have guests on here, but also to do short episodes with just you and I. Oh, by the way, my name is Jeremy.
Yeah.
And this is Matt.
Matt McDougal here.
So we're your hosts, and we're totally sober.
Yeah.
You can't prove otherwise. So, so the goal is eventually to have on people to interview, but for the first episode, we're just going to talk to each other so you guys can get to know the idiots that are hosting this show. So, Matt, we discussed absolutely none of this. You
Yeah.
left the podcast mic at your house,
That's
and
true.
we're doing this on my phone, propped up on a cat post in a tiny spare room of my house.
This is the amateur portion of
This is professional amateurs, and we
Yes.
are really good at being amateurs because
Yep.
we threw this together in about 15 seconds. So, who's interviewing who first, buddy?
I think you actually had questions.
I did, but they're on my phone, and we're currently using that to...
That's good. Well, I was going to plagiarize whatever you were going to ask.
Okay,
me,
then let's
so-
see how much I can remember.
Yes.
So, who is Matt McDougal? What is Matt McDougal?
You know, I stay up late at night wondering these questions myself. I'm a adult. I'm a human male.
A legal adult.
Yes, indeed. So I'm a coach. I'm a gym owner. I'm a friend and a general, somewhat civilized feral creature. I compete in a couple of less than mainstream sports. So I've competed in Moz wrestling all the way up to the Arnolds. I've competed in arm wrestling all the way up to the Arnolds. I've competed in
I like that we say up
strongman.
to the Arnolds, like the Arnolds is actually like a real
Like it means
thing.
something. Well, it means
Yeah,
something
yeah.
for a couple of sports.
It does. For the people that care
Yeah.
about the stupid stuff we care
Exactly.
about.
It means something to people that don't know anything.
Yeah,
so,
to the 12 other
Right.
people that are going to listen to this, they're going to be
Exactly.
like, that's pretty sweet.
I've competed in strongman at the Arnolds. And currently am competing in Highland Games. This is 3 years for me. I have a background in track and field, Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, kind of just anything general strength related. I've been throwing for 15 years now. And I'm 25 to give that some reference there. What else? Yeah. That's it, you know.
It covers as much as I know about you.
Right. So had a couple of professional coaching positions. I coached at a local high school, the high school I went to. I've coached around in the county that I'm from, and I've coached collegiately at the University of Mary Washington. That's all the things that actually matter.
Okay, so that's our general bio.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. So,
Like long walks on the beach.
yeah. Then I think my next one was, what was your first venture into the world of strength sports? You've been throwing for 15 years, so we can back it up to that.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Is that...
Sure. So, my dad put up a basketball hoop in our front yard, like most kids had growing up. And I have a brother that's 5 years old.
You had a yard and a dad. That's a big brag.
Exactly. Well, yeah, had. And
Jerk.
so, happy Father's Day.
Oh, yeah, we are recording
yes.
this on Father's Day. Go me.
Exactly. And he noticed that I was putting my elbow up and basically chest passing every shot I took.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey,
Which you see in the NBA every day.
Oh yeah, of course. That's how all of the good guys shoot basketballs. His elbow straight out to the side. Yeah. And he was like, there's a... And he noticed that I was fat and unathletic. And he's like, there's a sport
We can
where...
really...
Yeah, where you don't have to run and you can just throw things. And your pops was pretty proficient at it at one point. And if you want, we can just Like, instead of playing catch with the football, we can just throw rocks at each other. And I was like, well, that sounds great. So,
Yeah.
I
You had me at don't have to run.
Right, exactly. Like, I get to just throw things and not run. So I didn't grow up in a house where it's like, oh, don't throw things. It was always, throw things better.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my first exposure to sports in general. Was just the basic, playing basketball, picking up rocks in the backyard, stuff like that. We lived in the country.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Partlow.
Okay.
So somewhere between...
Partlow, Virginia.
Partlow,
Not that
Virginia,
anyone's
yeah.
going to listen to this or that they won't be from this state.
Yeah, so I grew up somewhere between Partlow, Virginia and Hackberry, Louisiana. My grandparents were down there, so I spent summers, in the swamp. My cousins are literally on swamp people. I mean, so we're white trash. And
We're going gator hunting at some point. If I
oh,
know
for
that
sure.
now,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're the gator Southerners, not the oil money Southerners.
Yeah.
So to clarify there, we do it out of passion.
We're missing our teeth because of
right.
meth, not because
Exactly.
of inbreeding.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and then the first sport I actually played was football, my 8th grade year. But I'd already began shot putting and throwing a disc before that. I just didn't actually participate in organized sport yet. The plan was kind of just to get involved in high school. But my friends wrote me into football my 8th grade year. And so that was my first exposure to actual team sports. From there, I had a fairly successful high school career. It's a just under 60-foot shot putter and 180-foot discus thrower, which are pretty good marks, but I was second on my team in both of those. So I had a kid that was younger than me that was better in disc, and I had a kid that was older than me.
Isn't that a shame when someone younger than you shows up and throws further
exactly.
than you? Isn't that frustrating? How hard was that for you, you jackass?
Well, that wasn't hard for me, but my friend of me, the same age as me, Ben, who I'm trying to get involved in the Highland games now.
Was he Ben that was at your strongman show?
Yeah, that one. Yep. So
he's also better looking than you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, well, most people are, but
that's fair.
So he was better than me in shot put. So I was second in both on the team, but at states I was also second in the state on both. Right. So like,
okay.
Got pretty used to coming in not first at things, but was still second in the state in both. Right. So like, I was only bad compared to people on my own team because we did have a very good throws coach in my father. Right. So Dad was a 200-foot collegiate disc thrower and a 60-plus foot collegiate shot putter. And
prior to Krauser was like a really impressive mark.
Right.
Yeah.
So, he was throwing in the 80s. He had a pretty good shot of making the U.S. Olympic team, but it was 1980, and that's the year we boycotted. And then, you have a family, and you have to pay for student loans because you're a poor farmer.
Shit's a downer.
Right, exactly. So life gets in the way sometimes. But yeah, so that was kind of my track record there. Post high school, I threw for a semester at Mount St. Mary's University in Emmitsburg, Maryland. And then the not prime minister, it wasn't a president, it was a private Catholic school. And so the headmaster, whatever the fuck you want to call him.
Daddy.
Daddy. And then Daddy said that they've recruited too many athletes, and they, when you have too many rabbits in the hutch, you have to cull the weak, were his exact words.
If I was a Catholic priest, I'd kick you out first.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, well, you start fucking with Jesuits and like trying to get priests drunk every day. Anyway, so the college had recruited too many athletes, and so they said, well, you can keep going here, but we can't put you on scholarship anymore. And it was $40,000 a semester, right? And so I made the decision to, I could pay $250,000 to get my geology or earth science degree to become a high school teacher, or I could drop out and run into fires and be a dumbass with all my friends. So that led to fire and EMS, and because I wasn't competing collegiately anymore, I had to find other outlets, which became powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, strongman, still some track and field unattached, all of those things. I very quickly realized I had propensity for strength, and turn that It's getting moist in this room. I'm
There's
not a small man.
Yeah.
There's 600 pounds of meat.
I'm typically the largest person in a room I'm in, and I am not right now.
Yeah. And, for reference here, I'm, 6'3" and 360, 360 right now, which is small for me.
Yeah, you used to be 6'2" till you stopped pulling heavy.
Yeah, until I stopped deadlifting, right. But, oh God, I lost my train of thought. It doesn't matter. But yeah, so I kind of bounced around. I got very proficient in Olympic weightlifting, to a very high caliber. And while pursuing athletics in that manner, I was a paramedic, and I was also bouncing, and I got stabbed in the leg while I was bouncing, and so getting into the bottom of a snatch became very uncomfortable for me. So
I've never been at the bottom of a snatch.
Right.
I don't know what that's like.
Yeah, we won't,
I just hate Olympic weightlifting. I don't know why you're laughing.
When it comes to Olympic weightlifting, girth is really what matters, because you need to be proficient in deep positions.
All around?
Yeah, exactly. All around, yeah.
Yeah, it's not about how far you go.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at Lasha, no one's going to say that that's an athlete.
No. But damn,
600 pound overhead.
But damn, is he wide?
Yeah, exactly. He's got some birth and hips on him. But yeah, so I, lost confidence there. Got pretty depressed. Got fat. Still stayed fat, and that's what's led me to all the weird, wacky things we do now is
fantastic
obesity.
I would like to point out two Venn diagrams that I think overlap heavily. Is one, strength athletes and first responders for some reason.
Yeah. First responders and math and science majors.
Yeah, and then I thought of another one, but I just completely forgot it.
Nice.
There was another really good joke, and I was like, that's going to be funny.
Yeah.
But apparently my ADD didn't want to hang on to that.
Very good, yeah. Still come back to you.
Yeah, no, about 15 minutes from now, I'm going to scream something that's not going to make sense, and I want you all to remember that this is where that joke should have gone.
Yeah.
And it was a lot funnier than it sounded.
Yeah, so, that's my background. There's probably more stuff that'll slip in later as I get reminded.
I hope so. So, all right, so it was primarily throwing through high school and all that, and then later years when everything else came in. So strongman, you have found some semblance of quote-unquote success in. I don't know what determines success in the strongman arena.
Right.
But so at one point in time, let's see, you've earned your pro card.
For USS, which to clarify is...
one of the 16 governing organizations.
Right. So like to get a USS pro card isn't even as impressive as going to the Arnold's for Strongman Corporation. And so a
How
USS...
do I get one?
So, you're right. So USS pro card, you have to compete at a USS pro qualifying show, which is when a promoter says that you can get a pro card.
Okay.
And so you need at least 6 people. So I beat 6 local guys and got a pro card.
I'm going to start calling myself a pro strongman.
Right. I haven't competed in a USS pro show, though, since doing that, so I don't think I'm still a pro.
It doesn't maintain...
I think you have to compete.
I will say that is one of the few things that makes sense, and we will undoubtedly get into the nitty-gritty of Highland Games and what is right and what is wrong about the structure of the quote-unquote sport we've both chosen to pursue.
Yes.
But I think that pro Highland Games makes way more sense than pro bodybuilding or pro strongman or any of these other things that tend to overlap on the fringe of it. Because that doesn't make any goddamn sense.
So in most sports, there's either so in like combat sports, you have a ranking system through fighting, right?
Yeah.
And it's very cut and dry. And in powerlifting,
does anyone actually make money powerlifting? I don't think those... Yeah,
no, not really. I mean, a couple grand a year.
I think a pro powerlifter just runs an OnlyFans at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah. And so, can't speak to that. But...
Yeah, I would never. But I've read books.
Right. Word on the street. But in powerlifting, you just get a pro total, right? And so they've determined
that's something I didn't actually know, so that's good.
Yeah, so being a professional powerlifter just means that you've hit the qualifying marks at whatever weights.
Which makes sense.
Right.
Okay.
So
all right, that's a tangible...
Right.
Which does not exist in strongman because everything is different every single show that you go to. Yep. So it's great that it's based on when the promoter says so.
Right. You're right.
Awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly, yeah. And so...
Paul Mouser, you owe me. No, I'm just kidding. I love you. If you ever listen to this, you're a sweetheart.
Yeah. And so so whereas in strongman, it is based off of there are a couple of different ways that you can get a pro card in Strongman Corp, which is the one that actually matters. And,
the one the shirt you're wearing right now.
This
or
is
no, this
OSG.
is OSG. Never mind.
The other one that matters.
The other one.
Yeah.
The two.
There are two that matters. And Strongman Corp matters.
Do we know anyone that's like high up in any of those other ones that don't matter? Should we be worried about offending people?
Well, Tom Soroka is a USS.
Oh. I love you, Tom, but
yes, we love Tom. So the thing with Strongman Corp is there are shows in which you can qualify for one, but the weights on those shows are like 20% heavier than you would see at nationals. And so if you are able to...
heavy shows are dumb. Right. Shout out to the barn gym.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah. Yes, where we made our novice athletes do an 880 yoke.
God bless it. I hate you so much. I've never marked 2 feet on any scorecard until that show. Right.
Yes.
I did a 650 yoke in training for like 40 feet back and forth. Man, let me tell you that extra 200 pounds makes a hell of a difference.
Yeah, 400 kilos is a lot, no matter how you're doing it.
I don't care who you are.
But yeah, so Strongman, for their pro card, you can either take top 3 at nationals.
That makes sense.
Right. Or you win and nationals, for reference here, generally has like 80 to 100 competitors. And to go to nationals,
massive.
Right.
Some would say too inclusive.
80 to 100 competitors per class. And to get there, you have to win a local
Which is
show.
what, 8 to 9 classes. So I mean, you're looking at
just a 500 to 1,000.
I think
people,
roughly a fuck ton.
Metric actually.
Oh, okay.
But,
which is 2.25 U.S. fuck tons.
2.205. Yes.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Operate stones nowadays.
And then the other way to get a pro card is to win what they call a pro-am show or a Plat Plus pro-am show.
Okay.
So I actually...
Where the promoter said... No, I'm just kidding.
Right, exactly. Well, so generally speaking, in those, you're actually competing against pros, right? So like in 2020... Yeah, in 2021, I don't remember now, I won...
Time isn't real.
Right. I won a Plat Plus show for Strongman Corp. So, as did my girlfriend. She won the same comp, Mammoth, which was in Kentucky.
She won't design our logo, but she's pretty strong.
She is. Yeah, she's good at whatever she does. So it's
We're not sure what that is, but
I don't know. Yeah. But so I should have a pro card through Strongman Corp, the one that matters.
Do they send you a physical card for any of these?
No. You can buy
get
one,
bent.
But yeah, exactly.
I'm not a pro if I have to buy shit from you.
Exactly. But they decided that year there were too many pros from Plat Plus shows, so my show...
Maybe your system of making pros is flawed.
Yeah, flawed, right.
Anyway.
So my show didn't count. The one a month before and the month after did, but mine specifically didn't. So I'm not bitter about that at all.
No. Who would be? I'm not bitter about anything. It's definitely not going to come up in this or any future episodes.
Of course not. No.
This is all satire, and I can't enforce that enough to the people that may or may not invite us to games one day. This is all satire.
Yes, this is... I'm actually speaking in a persona right now.
Yeah.
This isn't me at all.
I'm the Lizard King.
But yeah. So, not that it matters though for the pro card there because I'm not good enough to compete pro anyway. No. So that's I'm good at moving events. Static strength is not something that
It's useful. Let's just go ahead and call
it doesn't matter at all. But
he said to the guy with a deadlift 200 pounds higher than his,
right.
Strength is dumb.
Right. But compared to like Highland Games athletes or most powerlifters or most strongmen, I'm fairly elite. Compared to Bobby Thompson, the man can do 30 reps strict with my 1 rep max overhead. So it's not...
I still haven't seen Bobby, so I'm just going to keep assuming he's not real.
Yeah, it basically...
Like, AI's come really far. I think that whole Instagram is...
He's just a mythical creature that graces us in the gym sometimes. I'll see Bobby markings. There'll be a drinking muscle milk on the ground. And
is that the secret? Is it muscle milk?
Yeah, it's the elite muscle milk.
Muscle milk, if you want to sponsor us, I can't wait to get liquid shits. Get really strong.
Yeah. See, I already have the liquid shits. I think that might be
we're going to get into that. That's on my list of questions.
But yeah, so that strongman pro cards are weird. You want to talk about Highland Games pro cards?
Oh, we're going to get there, buddy.
Okay,
we're going to get there.
But yeah, so I've had moderate success, I'd say, in strongman. I've been competing in it for 7 years now.
Okay. And that'll bring me... Look, man, I should do this for a living.
Probably.
So that brings me to another point of strongman versus Highland Games. So is it right to say that your general plan is to do, and this was last we talked about, so it could have changed, to get through nationals this year and then see where you can get at peak Highland Games wise, which you're already in the top 10, give or take, for AMs in North America. So there's an argument to be made that you're already there Highland Games wise, but you could do better.
Right.
So what is the game plan going forward? Is it to focus primarily on the games? Is it to keep trying to be a multi-sport athlete? What?
So I had this conversation with a couple people recently. I have no intention of doing Nats at this point.
Okay. That is, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. And just kidding, you didn't, because I don't know when this is actually going to air.
Right, yeah. I halfway retired last year in 2022 because of a back injury, and then I came back stronger, and now I've said, but I don't really like this.
You want to do the game with all your friends where we all get to drink and have fun the whole time?
Yeah, exactly.
Weird that you would want to do that instead. We're going to get into that later.
So I think I've discovered that when I have stopped deadlifting, I'm not nearly as depressed. And I'm also taller. And so I think...
I wish height equaled not being depressed, because I would be so happy all the time.
I think I think I had some spinal compression there, and it had nothing to do with my horribly tragic life so far.
Yeah. So weighing 400 pounds is great on your body.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic.
You see a lot of 80-year-olds walking around at 400 pounds, just super pumped.
Long, healthy lives, for sure.
Hey, with the advances in modern medicine and my high-level income...
Yes. Whatever the county's willing to pay for in the end.
Oh, God.
But yeah, so no, my plan is to go full dive here into the Highland Games. I like throwing better. I always did. I just enjoy the movements. I like the training for it. And
you don't enjoy the movements because you keep wanting to change them into discus throws. But whatever.
I enjoy a movement that I can make everything else into and be top 10.
Get fucked.
Yeah. So, coaching available. No, but just throw.
There is a gym where you could show up. But
Well, we'll talk about the gym later.
Yeah. We're gonna.
Yeah, we'll get to all.
We're only 22 minutes into this thing, man, and that's without us editing out that horrible intro we did.
Oh yes, and everything else we're gonna have to edit out.
Oh, God, so much.
Yeah. So yeah, but the plan now is to go full dive into Highland Games. As I've lost weight, my best throws came at somewhere between 315 and 330 pounds body weight. I've gained quite a bit of muscle mass since my best throws have happened. But even going from like a 395 body weight to currently 360, my growth in the last month has been 15-20% in most of my numbers for throwing, and so it's been I'm hooked on that now, and I don't know that I'll be able to let go of that. So.
Hyperfixation is a real real mistress.
Exactly. So no, the plan is to win ECCs, and then which is the East Coast Championships for Highland Games, which is going to be a tough one.
I promise, folks, we're going to get specifically into Highland Games because that's where our Venn diagram overlaps the most. But this is the first episode. You got to fucking stick it out.
You got to know who we are.
Yeah, because none of you... We're definitely going to have strangers listening to this.
Yeah.
It's not just going to be a dozen friends who tune out at around this point.
Absolutely.
But...
Yeah. So that's the plan, is to... I'm gonna stop arm wrestling too because it ruins my elbows. And
I've never been more scared of an injury than the videos I've seen from arm wrestling.
It's
like every sport has some, and I'm like, I think I could stay hypothetically, knock on glass, like a little ahead of most of them.
Right.
Like I'm a relatively healthy human, but the stuff that just goes wrong on people arm wrestling, goddamn terrifies me.
So the I hear what you're saying. But the worst thing that can happen to us in Highland Games is death, and the worst thing that can happen to us to, get hit.
You say worst,
right? Oh yeah, fair. The injuries could be catastrophic in that, right? And the injuries in strongman.
I'd argue my head might be harder than a 56.
Perhaps, but the first time it hits. Yeah. But
I'm just gonna create a new division anyway.
Right.
But we don't have enough of those.
No, I think we need.
About 4 more at a minimum.
Weight classes are something I love. But I think... Oh, God. What was I? It's gone now.
What are we talking about? It's gone.
What the hell were we...
Someone's going to comment on this and be like, he was talking about this. And I have Jameson and not a lot of fucks.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's completely gone. Oh, injury. There we go.
Yeah,
The injuries in, Moz wrestling can be catastrophic.
God.
Everyone tears a bicep.
that's the only thing I've ever gotten injured in.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That actually made my back feel better because of the decompression.
Oh, God.
So,
if you've never had a 300-pound man pull on a stick that's in your hand, and I know this sounds weird, but hear me out.
Yeah.
But your feet are on the same board and he pulls you in the opposite direction, everything from the top of your trap to the bottom of your lumbar spine is going to pop, and it's, for a split second, you're going to be worried that you're going to die. Mm-hmm. But shortly after that, oh my God.
The best decompression I've ever had was Moz wrestling. I swear I got
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Get someone across from you that doesn't know what they're doing and it's just going to pull immediately.
Yeah.
Oh, and just relax for a second, but hang on with your hands. Oh, man.
Yeah. So
it's going to change your life.
Moz wrestling has all the dangers of a combat
I was
sport.
7 feet tall when I left Poland.
Right.
Awesome.
has all the dangers of a combat sport with none of the head dangers, right? So, you're not going
I
to...
just thought you meant none of the head.
No, not true. But there aren't a lot of groupies for Moz wrestling. At least in, maybe in Yakuza, Russia.
Everyone here... Fingers crossed.
Right.
Everyone here is going to have to Google what that is.
Yeah. Both Moz wrestling and Yakuza. But, right, yeah. I see your post.
The one person I know from Yakuza.
Right. And then, in strongman, you can horribly cripple yourself, of course. In
you could, drop a car on your femur.
Yeah. Or pass out hyperextending with an Atlas
stone.
You
could, you could throw a keg and it could hit the uprights, which are, for some reason, made of 2-foot wide steel instead of just a bar.
Sure, yeah.
Because that matters.
Of course. You could be running a car at OSG and your leg just completely snaps in half. And
I maintain that Nancy's tibia is now invincible, and that's actually an unfair advantage.
Yeah, I'm scared if she ever did a flying knee or went for a shin kick.
God.
It'd just be a piece of titanium.
It would cut you in half.
Right,
yeah, she's like Wolverine from the knee to her ankle.
Right, yeah. And she has a regeneration too.
It's pretty high.
Yeah. But yeah, whereas in arm wrestling, the worst thing that can happen is, we break an arm. You
say the worst thing, it's not a... And what doesn't bother me is a break. Breaks are potential. I could walk outside right now and fall off my porch, and shit could go horribly wrong. It's the radial snapping. It's that motion that I'm doing right now, even though this is not a video medium. It's the torque causing it to snap, as opposed to something hitting it or something.
We call them green stick fractures if it's on a kid. I don't.
You can call it whatever you want. I don't.
Yeah, that rotational.
It sounds like it fucking hurts.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I'm sure it does. But you could still drive. You know what I mean? That's not going to be something that debilitates you. You're not going to be one of the forever. You know what I mean? You're not going to be one of the boxers that can't recognize their kids, right? You're not going to be
lucky bastards.
Right. Exactly. You're not going to be waddling around.
Yeah.
Every strongman we know over 35.
No, their hips are fine. But Chad's doing great, man. He's bench pressing 400 pounds every other weekend.
He's bench pressing 400 pounds.
And that is it.
But can he tie his shoes?
Not without being out of breath. Right. And we love you, Chad.
More than anything. Yeah, Chad's the reason I got into...
We're going to have to get Chad onto here.
Or Moz wrestling, both.
We need to get Chad. I think Chad Clark has single-handedly gotten more people into... Because Chad... was the one that got me into Highland games to an extent. We'll get into that story at some point.
Sure.
But for sure got me into Moz wrestling.
Right. Yeah.
Got me into grip.
Mm-hmm. Same.
So yeah. Shout out to Chad
grip,
for getting it's a thing we've both done.
Yep.
Since we were 12.
Yeah, we have good hands. Round implements, very familiar.
Yeah.
Smaller the better.
Sphere.
Yeah.
I operate really well with things with a 2-inch diameter and under.
Right.
I have Reese's, which you all get to listen to me open and eat.
Good.
We have more liquor.
Good.
All right, so what were we... I should have written that down before I got up here.
Yeah, most likely.
Add flag so we know where to pick back up.
Yeah.
Injuries. We're talking about Chad Clark. Getting everybody and their brother into various strength sports.
Yeah, that man is an icon. Thank you, sir. Yeah. An icon in...
Without a doubt. If you don't like Chad Clark, I'm immediately suspicious of you.
Yeah, there are a couple of people I know that have sour opinions of Chad, but they're also mostly on drugs and assholes. So the only critique of the man is that
he cares too much.
He puts his
Genuinely.
feet into, or his hand into everything,
Mm-hmm.
because he's the only one that cares enough to try to do anything.
Yep.
And so he's chronically overworked and underpaid, and so you run into all the problems that.
Which is inevitably it's gonna cause some sort of problem somewhere.
Right. So, like, sometimes communication can be an issue, but you're talking to the man that does literally everything, and
some people don't have the depth to understand that.
No, right? We could bitch and moan about it, or we could actually start hosting games ourselves and opening gyms and running competitions and.
Wouldn't you guys like to know if that's going to happen?
Right? Wouldn't you like to know if you own an Iron Podium? If I'm Virginia's strongest man at the Barn Gym, feel free to sign up. You still have time, except this. It's a month away, so you don't have time.
You don't have time to train, but you can sign up.
Yeah, that's how I did most of my time.
Yeah,
so.
are you on enough trend? Fucking get up there.
If you're not on trend, are you even doing strongman?
Are you even trying?
Right.
Sorry, we're both chewing on chocolate now.
Chocolate and liquor.
How well do you think orange Jameson would mix with that orange Monster I have in my kitchen?
I would love to find out. I think that's all that really matters.
All right, yeah, so Chad Clark is great. If you don't like him, I would like an in-depth reason as to why. And I will actually hear you out, but I'll probably disagree with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, any points you make could be valid. They just won't matter.
Look. I am the king of my personality doesn't groove with everyone.
Yes.
I completely understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to either get, this works really well right off the bat.
Yep.
And it feels like I've known you for 5 years.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Or, holy shit, get this guy away from me.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it's one or the other, which could bode really well for this podcast. And a lot of people would be like, oh, this is great. I could listen to this guy for forever. Or half of you may go, the fuck does this guy think he's doing around the podcast, and leave. And that's fine, because I'm going to do it anyway.
This is wonderful.
Okay.
We have to name this.
Ooh.
This is
So I will do orange monsters with vodka and call them Kyle Mimosas.
Well, sounds right. Yep.
We could keep it in that.
This is Orange Monster. And
Yeah,
orange
folks.
Jameson.
What do you name an orange monster with orange Jameson?
The double O.
Double O. I like that. Double O negative. We make it sound like a blood type.
Sure.
This is the same process we went through trying to name this podcast and the little side episodes we're going to do.
Yeah.
And in about 2 weeks, we're going to shout really loud about what we think we should name this drink. But hey, if this happens to air before November, feel free to let us know.
Yeah. Your opinion will be taken into account.
It'll always be heard. That is
Pretty good.
so easy.
Yeah.
That cut any bite out of the Jameson.
There's absolutely no alcohol feeling.
No. That could get me a felony.
Some of the sweetness is a little gone, but that's a good thing for me, So
I'd prefer it, honestly.
yeah, true. Yes.
All right. So,
So that's kind of sports history, and then what I'm planning on doing in the future.
yeah.
We
So,
wrapped that up pretty good.
all right. So your plans in the future are to try and win ECCs, which I think is a doable goal. I think there are a couple of guys there that are going to be heavy contenders. So let's save the really specific Highland game stuff for a little later. Let's keep moving past that. So the Barn Gym.
Sure.
So you left what everyone would call a very stable, quote unquote, normal job.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's normal because for those of you that don't know, and I'd like to make this clear, none of my opinions are that of any agency that does or has ever employed me. I work for a local law enforcement agency. Matt was a civilian employee of a larger agency.
Yep. So
I find it normal.
Yeah. So to touch up on my work history here, I've coached forever, even when I was severely underqualified. And for anyone that's
I'm
thinking
running
about
a podcast while underqualified.
Right. For anyone
I'm a white guy in his 30s, so I think that's actually the bare
that's
minimum.
the only qualifying. Yeah. And we're drinking, so there it is.
That's why I'm here with you, buddy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I've been coaching for a while, and I've been doing that on the side of actual jobs. And if anyone's thinking about getting into coaching, don't. But if you're going to, do it now, because you're going to mess up. And the only way to actually get through any of that is learning experience. You can go to school and you can learn a lot there, but it doesn't actually teach you how to interact with people. And I mean this in the best way possible. But if you want to be a successful coach, go and volunteer at Special Olympics. Yeah. So before you go down there,
I could go down a 20-minute rabbit hole, though, on schooling versus real-world experience.
Yeah.
And I think for the vast majority of people, real world experience should be prioritized.
Agreed.
In any field.
Absolutely.
But schooling is there to do something that we are both fan of and raise the basement, because you have to do something to the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
Someone somewhere has to check a box that they tried to teach the dumbest person on earth how to do whatever the job is. And that's all schooling is.
Yeah.
That's all any basic level of education is. And after that, you just have to go do it, regardless of what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that the first week on job or first month on a job, no matter what you've done, is always going to be a learning experience. And so, take that for what it's worth. But anyway, so my work history looks mostly like fire and EMS service, paramedic work, some flight paramedic work, some...
Aren't there weight restrictions on helicopters?
No. Yes, but no.
Not on those helicopters.
Not on the big ones, right. So, not on ones that are made to transport people.
Several people.
Exactly.
They just cut one other guy out of the shift.
Exactly.
Keep the small girl off.
I've always been in the first responder spectrum there.
It is a spectrum, isn't it?
Yeah. And so I was able to get a civilian job working with the DEA where I was doing drug reclamations. And so we would go around and pick up and destroy illicit substances from jails, prisons, CVS's, and we were doing hazmat rec as well, because the DEA and EPA are kind of the same.
Yeah, and if you ever want to go to sleep, read hazmat stuff.
Yeah,
It'll
exactly.
Knock you right out.
And I got a CDL through the fire department, so I was, I had drug experience, and that's all I'm gonna, say on that one. So I had drug experience and a CDL and no criminal record, so I was a pretty good match for it. And I didn't leave that job. They severed me.
That's
because we lost our funding to tax agents.
Probably Google.
No, to
IRS.
To the IRS.
Fuck the IRS.
So we lost our funding.
That one, I will say, is completely my opinion.
Yeah. So absolutely.
This is going to quickly turn into a libertarian. Just.
Oh yeah. So the DEA, the people that are keeping drugs off the streets,
lost their job to
lost
the IRS.
Their jobs to the IRS to tax the middle class. But anyway, definitely don't get upset with your government about that. No matter what you do, don't take spray foam and put it in parking meters.
Don't put
don't
it.
do
No,
that.
don't ever do that to keep them from getting their money.
No. But yeah, so I did that for 9 months, and that was honestly probably one of the worst times of my life. One, chemical exposures are chemical exposures, and two, working 5 14-hour days a week.
Cancer's going to get you somewhere down the line. It's
oh
fine.
Yeah, for sure. Either way. So But yeah, so that's been. I didn't actually have a choice in that. They gave me a large severance. And
Here's your money. Get out.
Right, and I'd already been.
What's it like to have a job where they pay you a severance?
Well, when you have to get it, it's unfortunate, but it's very nice. But yeah, so I'd been acquiring gym equipment for years. One of the issues that we run into with niche strength sports is that it's hard to find a gym where you can actually train appropriately. Yeah. And with the first responder lifestyle, we don't really have the hours to go to traditional gyms.
Yeah, because you want to lift at 11 o'clock at night or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And I need a 12-inch log somewhere.
Yep.
And that's not at Gold's.
No, exactly. So
there's just a bunch of old man ball sacks hanging out somewhere.
Right. Exactly.
And while I love that, I'd like to also have an axle bar.
Yeah, that doesn't help me with strongman.
Yeah.
And so, or even having like a reverse hyper, which I would consider a gym essential. Or
we could do an entire
or lat pull down
one throw episode on equipment that every gym should have but doesn't.
Yeah.
I think you and I think fairly similarly about training modalities, despite my lack of knowledge.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I had already acquired what would be considered a reckless amount of gym equipment,
as one should,
which I was storing somewhere between my mom's garage, my girlfriend's barn, and before either of those, a buddy's barn that we cleared out to put equipment in. Do CrossFit,
which devolved into you starting a gym called.
Which devolved into me opening the barn gym.
Which I think that's actually explained in one of the bio lines or something for the gym. I remember reading.
Yep.
It was on a post or a website or something about.
Yep. Oh yeah, it was on the first Instagram post.
That's what it was.
Yep. So
because I'm an OG.
Yes. Yeah, so Haley, a partner in the gym.
Who's a much nicer person.
For sure.
She's such a sweetheart.
She is.
If she would just design that fucking logo already.
Yeah,
We're spitting gold over here, Haley, and you're really all that's holding us back.
yeah, I mean, talk about a letdown.
God, listen.
But, she's at home sleeping because she just got done working overnight for the last week or two, and here I am.
Not a real thing. If you told me someone made money braiding hair
Horse hair.
for not people,
Yeah, animal hair.
I'd say that person is almost certainly a cover for a drug organization.
For sure.
And if you told me that person's live-in boyfriend used to work for the DEA,
it would get
I'd
a
grow
little
more
suspicious.
suspicious.
Yeah, it'd be,
we call that a clue in my line of work.
there's a lot of money that just went into this gym. You just got let go from the DEA.
Anyway.
That's not going to look good when I have to go and get my top
God, I
secret
hope none of
renewed.
my narcotics friends are listening to this. Go on.
Right.
All right. So, yeah. So,
Yeah, and
civilian job with the DEA.
Yeah. So I got a severance there, and we had been looking for a place to move our gym. We were planning on opening a gym no matter what.
Which any strength athlete that has acquired any amount of
Right.
implements or anything, if you're going to sit here and tell me you've never thought about it,
Right.
you're a liar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And so I thought I had enough equipment to fill up about a 2,000 square foot gym. That's what I was planning on opening.
Which what you have now is how many square feet?
3,600.
Okay.
Yep. And so I was like, for another 20 grand, I can fill out the gym, have a fridge, do what I want. And the space we ended up getting was 3,600 square feet because it was where we wanted. It made sense for location, and it made sense for...
Which is Caroline, Virginia,
Yep.
for anyone that's listening and wants
Rutherford
a
Land.
sweet place to
Yep.
go train. It really is a fantastic area.
I appreciate it.
I grew up
It's
not
good.
too far south from there, and it, dude, if I was still living in Beaver Dam, I'd be there every other day. You'd
Yep.
get tired of me.
It's a really fun place. We have a really good atmosphere, which I'll go to in a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought I could open it for about 20 grand, and I was off by about 40, but because
Isn't that the way it always goes?
right, because you can't have an empty gym, and so you have to fill up the rest of it, and then you decide, oh, I don't actually need these things, and you buy the wrong stuff. But again,
It's growing pains. It's,
right. I got a little ahead of myself with buying equipment, but I was in a position where I decided to put myself in a position where I did that. I don't know that I could necessarily afford it, but I had the money, so we did it. Kind of always had a fuck it, we ball mentality for things like that.
That's how I've gotten through 31 years.
Right. So,
Some of those decisions have been great. Some of them,
and here we are recording a podcast.
but he brings me Monster.
Right.
So.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so we decided to open a facility for people that wanted to get better, right? So we have general memberships, of course, but we don't really advertise to people that want to walk on a treadmill, right?
Do you guys have a treadmill?
We have a singular treadmill
As
because
it should
Haley
be.
wanted a treadmill.
And it's in that back room.
Correct. It is, out of sight, out of mind.
I can honestly say that in the last at least 6 years of training, I think I've gotten on a treadmill maybe half a dozen times. And those have been days where I wanted to get out of the house and go to a gym, but they were supposed to be rest days. So I went and walked on a treadmill for 30 minutes so that I could go do something. Not because...
So most treadmills aren't rated for me, and so I wear out the motors, and they
Most
stop.
things aren't rated for you.
Yeah, my dad used to say I was hard on things. I was just fat, but
At least you had an excuse. I
Yeah.
break shit, and there's not even as much of a
there's
reason.
just something wrong with you.
But one thing.
Yeah, right.
I don't know why it curves to the left.
There's one.
But anyway,
folder wrong with you.
yeah.
Yeah, and but yeah, so we really cater to fire EMS. We're 24 hours. We have stair climbers and assisted pull-up machines and things that would help you pass physical fitness tests for fire EMS police. Haley is a ultra marathon runner, and so everything that you would need
Yeah.
to pass,
Don't go too deep into Haley, by the way, because we're going to have her on at some point.
for sure. So, but anything
Not that you've ever gone too deep into Haley.
no,
But
not once. But anything that you would need to pass a fire fitness test, a police fitness test, that was kind of the mindset.
oh, you mean useful physical training?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a lot of friends burned to death, and it sucks.
It's a bummer.
It's a really bummer because they could have prevented it if they weren't fat pieces of shit. But
yeah,
that's how that goes.
I was about to say something specific about my agency, but I still work there.
Yes,
and I stopped myself, and I think that shows growth.
So there are people that want to come home to their family, and there are people that are in fire and EMS, or first responders because they had no other choice, and and sometimes those overlap,
and sometimes there's a mix,
right? But yeah, so
just not qualified to do much else.
But yeah, so we really went hard into strongman and weird strength sports. So I have all,
which you're in a good location to do
for sure. Yeah.
So for anyone that's not familiar with Virginia, you kind of have Richmond, and then you have Nova.
Right.
And there's a huge expanse in between that is growing, and there's a lot of general industry coming into those areas, and. I don't know if you know this, but outside of first responders, I mean, labor jobs have a shitload of people that compete in that sport.
Yeah, absolutely, and weird hours. And so, we're the only 24-hour gym in the area, and we cater towards strength sports. So if you want to do anything that you can't do at a normal YMCA, a Gold's, right, then that's kind of the gym for those people. We actually went to the YMCA and handed out business cards and said, hey, anytime you kick someone out for slamming a deadlift, I want you to send them to me. Right. Yeah. And we did the same thing at AmFam. We did the same thing at the other local gyms and said, look, like we want your misfits. We want your people that are actually strong that you're going to kick out. We want the people that your members are complaining about being intimidating. We want them because that's our demographic, right?
Yeah. And they're not going to be intimidating once they get over there,
and they're not going to be anything special.
We're going to get into on my little sticky note that I've been making notes on.
Yeah.
I'll get to that.
But yeah. So that was kind of the wrap with the gym is I wanted a place where I could train. And where I was in my athletic career at the time was I was better than everyone local for strongman, with the exception of one guy who was top 5 in the world, Bobby Thompson.
Fuck off, Bobby.
Right. And then
I don't even know you, but I'm going to lay it out right now. Fuck. No, I'm just kidding. Take a hard stance.
Brick through window. But
I'm towing his car.
Right. Stay out of my county. But yeah, which is just incomparable because the man is a mountain, and but yeah, I didn't really feel like I had any peers, and so selfishly I opened the gym because I thought that I could create an environment where I could get back and being pushed athletically. When I got
anyone who says they can go, if you are a moderate strength athlete and you think you can accomplish great things at an AmFam, I'm amazed if you actually pull it off, because holy shit, it's almost impossible.
I'm not sure you could scrap together enough 45s to pull a sufficient deadlift as a heavyweight strongman.
Yes.
I mean, like at the point that you're pulling anything important, like 765 and up, that is 16 45-pound plates. So good luck.
Quick math.
Right. Yeah. I know that number, but So it became something for me where. When I got into strongman, we were all amateurs. This is, again, 7 years ago.
Professional amateurs now.
Right. Yeah, we've progressed.
Yeah.
And so...
We've made up another ranking.
Yeah.
Because that's all these sports, that's all any of them are. They're made up.
Add it to NASCA.
Yeah.
Along with
I think we can. We just need a password.
Right. Yeah, well, that's just saying that we're an AD, which, we are. So... There we are.
Shh,
but,
don't give it away.
Stop. Oh, God.
Shut the fuck up. That meeting hasn't happened yet.
Right. Which we could be one day if we're lucky.
Yeah. If everything goes well on Thursday.
Yes. So, thank you for reminding me. So, you got to text me
I swear to God, you better show up.
You got to text me once tonight. Just pick me up from the gym on the way up.
That's totally an option.
Okay, there we go.
Come sleep on the couch.
Yeah. Oh man!
But yeah, so you opened the bar gym to be around like-minded people.
So when I got into strongman, everyone was like, "All right, we're going to train together and get to nationals, right?" Mm-hmm. I got to nationals before everyone else because I took it seriously because I thought we were all taking it seriously. And
if you pick your show well,
right,
not to be a jerk, not that hard to do.
No, so I made it to nationals.
If I can get qualified for nationals, anyone who's halfway strong can go to nationals.
You got to pick the right show. And to clarify, I made it to nationals in 2020. That was my first one, and I did the online qualifier because it was COVID. Exactly.
Oh, you mean not in a competitive environment?
Exactly.
We'll get into that.
And I did horribly because I should not have gone to nationals, but
I never actually went. I qualified, and then I was like, no.
Yeah. Who doesn't have $1,000 to blow on a obscure strength sport.
Definitely not the two guys who started as first responders.
Right, exactly. Well, I had the money, and then
It must
now
be
I don't.
nice.
Right.
I need to get fired from a place or two.
Yeah. Exactly.
And this podcast is going to set me well on my way.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so I did horribly at nationals, but 2 weeks later I won a show. I mistimed my prep, and I'm just generally weak at the time, and now. So
what a weird bubble to be in. I'm going to hit on that later. I wrote it down as a note. There's a saying that I like that we'll get
stronger
to.
than everyone else, weaker than people that matter. But it's
Basically.
Yeah, and so impressive to people that don't know what they're looking at.
Okay, then you know what? I'll just say the same because I feel like we've. So
Yeah.
I tell people all the time because you run into people in your day-to-day life. I am stronger than the average person.
Right.
I am weaker than the average strong person.
Right. Yeah.
And that is the bubble that I put myself in. I can
Right.
go to work and pick up a box of whatever.
Yep.
And they're like, oh my God, it's like it weighed nothing. And I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
And then there are people like Bobby walking around or whoever, pick a person. We're just going to use them because my higher thought functions are lost right now.
Sure.
And I'm like, but I'm not though. I've
Right. But I bump shoulders with these people.
yeah. Am I stronger than everyone in this food line right now?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I stronger than the people who you see on TV doing strong stuff? No. No.
Right. Yeah. If you say, oh, you do strongman and you pull planes, I'm going to say, yeah, I have done that. And they say, oh, so you get paid for it. And I'm going to say, well, I've made $200 and I've spent.
I got a couple of free gas cards
exactly.
1 year.
Yeah. And
that I then lost to my truck and never got to use.
I've made $200 on the sport and I've spent $180,000 on a gym. So you do the math. I think I'm there.
You're coming out in the red.
Yeah, exactly. We are on the up, but yeah. So I
only $179,800 to go.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so doing the sports, it was like doing strongman. It's like, all right, we're all chasing this goal, and then I managed to qualify for the World Amateur Finals at the Arnold's, which is if you win that, you go to the Arnold Pro, right? So you get the 10th spot there.
Oh, you mean an actual pro show to earn your pro card?
Correct. Yeah.
Weird.
Yep. Exactly. So
the Arnold is doing a lot of things right. For all the grief I'm going to give a lot of the stuff we talk about.
I think that most
you're
of the
never going to
things
have
on there
anything
are
that's perfect.
No.
But I think the Arnold is potentially the closest for any of our sports that any of us have gotten.
I'd say it's the pinnacle for sure. I'd make an argument for Highland Games at maybe like Dublin, Ohio, or
there could be. I would say that pre-COVID, the Arnold was a very good goal, and it was a goal that I had at one point.
Right.
And it's still something I'd like to go do, but it has fallen more. I don't want to get too much into me because we're still talking about you, but
it's about me right now.
Yeah, this is the Matt episode.
Right.
But like it used to be something that was very sought after, and I looked recently, and they only throw 5 events.
Correct. Yep.
And so it's become more of a. I'd like to go to say I've competed at the Arnold, as opposed to telling people I competed at the Arnold. Like it's shifted in priority.
Yeah, it's not something to go on my Instagram bio. It's something I just want to do as one of the stepping
Yeah, because it's cool to talk to my friends about.
Yeah.
Because I've never been to an Arnold.
Right.
I think it would be neat to go and throw and then hang out.
Yep. And we have friends that are habitual Arnold competitors at this point.
Oh, you mean guys that are on the big stage? Yeah,
Right.
we'll wave at
big
them
stage.
from backstage.
Or like, I've done for 3 sports now, and so
How weird is it? Was there a bubble moment for you? Because this happened for me. We'll move on to a whole nother question now.
Right.
Was there a weird moment where there were guys that you looked up to in the strength sports, and then one day you realized that it's just you're one person removed from them, and then all of a sudden you know a few of them?
Yeah.
And then you realize that it's actually not that weird?
Yeah, for sure.
I rode on a train with Ode Haugen to various places in Poland.
Right.
And it was completely normal.
Yeah.
And it was a super weird... That was the surreal moment for me where that bubble kind of burst, but I'd say in a completely normal way. Because it was him, there was Carl... Like, there were people...
Right.
Poland was a weird trip for me.
Right.
Because all of a sudden it was like, wait, these are just...
People
that I know now.
Yep.
That
these are your peers.
I wish a happy birthday on Facebook, and
Yep.
It has somehow crossed into that.
Yeah,
and
I know that if I reach out to Ode through text,
he's going to answer me.
He's going to answer me.
And it's super odd.
Yeah, it's weird to, as you're scrolling through, the O's in your phone book, it's like, oh, Ode Howgie.
Dude, when I swipe to text and I try and do it changes it to Ode.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about right now, even though he's in the context.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a weird moment.
It's very bizarre. For me, it was the 2020 Arnold.
Okay.
I went for Moz Wrestling that year because Chad asked me to. Again, check.
We're going to do a one-turn on Moss Wrestling. Because I feel like it's something that we both had a similar experience in.
For sure. Yeah, got in, got out. Had
yeah.
Did an international comp and moved on. And so, yeah.
Just went to Worlds and then I pieced out.
Exactly, yeah. So, well, it was Worlds for us that year because it was, COVID. And so, so my first Arnold year, they canceled the festival, right? So it was, if you were in the building, you were an athlete or a world level coach. And
the end.
The
pictures from that Arnold looked so weird and surreal. Because the year before that was the first time that Highland Games was really prominently in it.
Yeah.
And I tangentially, not to say that Aaron George and Mike Beach aren't at the same level as Ode Haugen, but I think that's a fair statement.
Sure, yeah.
But like I knew them and saw the pictures they were posting. I'm like, that's just weird.
Yep. So for me, it was it's when I knew I belonged in the strength world. For one, I actually felt at home there.
Right.
And two, for me, it was doubly weird because my dad had died 2 weeks earlier. Right. Okay. And so this was like my first.
I got that out of the way at like age 11.
Exactly.
Man.
Yeah. So this
it'll make you way funnier way earlier.
Yeah. My first international strongman comp, or not strongman, first international competition. Well, that's not true. My first Moz Wrestling international comp.
That is a true statement.
That is true. And so, but it was the first time I'd gone to a big athletic event without guidance. So I went with my my best friend, who is
a dent in this thing.
It's going to be empty for sure. It's You have couches. It's fine.
Yeah, you're fine. I have an air mattress you can blow up in here.
But yeah, so I went to Columbus, Ohio with no supervision and my best friend. And so that was interesting. But we were walking around.
Yeah, polish that off. We have large bodies and high metabolisms.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
That's why I'm so svelte.
Right. And, but yeah, so it's weird because like I just like walked up to Thor and had a conversation with Thor, and Thor looked at me like I mattered.
And for everyone, you may be coming back to episode 2. You may be coming back to part 2 of episode 1. Or this may be something else entirely, and I'm an idiot. Which seems like the most possible.
It could be.
Yeah. But okay, I tell you what, let's save that.
Sure.
And if we want to talk about people that we know in the sport and do a whole little side episode on that.
Yeah, we'll just,
then cool.
For a while.
One, maybe quick.
Sure.
Has Crohn's affected your ability to train efficiently in any of these sports? Because you're arguably good at least Highland Games, if not everything else.
So Highland Games, no, so far. I have had to run across, an entire college campus to go use the restroom at some points. Sure. Yep.
All I know about Crohn's is that your body doesn't like red meat, maybe.
No,
and that or
not
something.
Quite, but it's
and then it makes you poop funny.
Yeah, it's basically IBS on crack. So that's
sweet.
I have a professionally upset stomach. Is the best way to say it. Sometimes my body just rejects food.
We got to shit right now.
Yep. Exactly. It's one of those like, I feel fine. Oh, I accidentally ate a piece of cantaloupe in a fruit salad. I guess I'm going to shit for 18 hours. I guess I'm going to lose 15 pounds real quick.
Your butthole hasn't felt anything for years.
Right. So, and it's fun.
Which is why I love you.
So it's fun because I've Crohn's disease, but I also have, every version of IBS also. So like, I just, my tummy just doesn't work.
Which is amazing.
Right.
Because it's a lot of tummy.
It is a lot of tummy. And that's actually part of what's driven my intentional weight gain. Because contrary to most people, I haven't been eating my feelings. But
I try it. It's awesome.
I'm sure.
I'd weigh 180 pounds if I was an emotionally healthy person.
Right. One of the things that I ran into when I was younger was I'd go from 250 pounds in high school, and I'd have a Crohn's flare, and I would drop down to like 220. I could lose 30 pounds in a week.
Oh shit!
Right, yeah. So like completely drop all water weight, and just it got dangerous. And so my way of dealing with that was destroying my body through other means, like walking around at 400 pounds. Which I've never been 400.
You never hit the 4? You were so close.
397. Yeah,
That's 2 quesaritos
I've
away.
never weighed in at 400 pounds.
Okay. You probably went to bed at 400 at some point in your life.
I doubt it. But I've never been 4. But yeah, so it's certainly for strongman, absolutely. There are days that I just cannot deadlift. I mean, so I have a mid 700 deadlift currently. Had. Yeah. Well, as of like a month ago still. I haven't tested it today, but and I
don't have anything in this house.
I've had
700 pounds.
Yeah. So. I've had competitions. I can lift 100 pounds 7 times if that counts. But I've had
out.
I've had competitions where like it's part of it is stress induced. And so I'll get worked up beforehand, and there are days that I can't deadlift 500 pounds because I can't brace, right? So,
because you shit your pants.
Because I shit my pants, or because I just been shitting my pants or vomiting. And so
there's no internal abdominal pressure to be had.
Your abdominal wall is just like, nah.
We out.
It ain't happening today. So, it's certainly come up, and actually the bigger comps I've won, like Mammoth, for example, I've been on days where I feel good. Right, so I felt good leading up to it. I said, you know what, I'm only eating.
What year did you do Mammoth?
I did Mammoth 2020.
Okay.
One of those.
Because that was around the time I started following you, and I saw that, and I'd been at Mammoth for the Highlander that KO ran.
Yeah.
But I think it was a year or two before that.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was 2021.
Okay. I think I was there in 19-ish.
Sure.
Yeah.
That was definitely before me then.
You're still in high school? No.
Right, yeah. But yeah, so it has come up. It has never come up in the Highland Games. And I think the reason...
Thank God, because sometimes we have to walk so far to a Porta-John.
Yeah, if they're available. Or,
and God help you if it happens in hammer boots.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you run with knives on your feet.
Just spearing small children and sheep.
Yeah. Oh, the sheepdog. But, yeah, so I actually used a hammer boot to cut a turkey leg yesterday. But anyway,
no one under 350 pounds has ever uttered that.
No, yeah. Reese Hoffa just smiled, But yeah, so it hasn't come up in Highland Games, and I think that's because I have been thrown for so long that even in what would be a high stress situation in the Highland Games,
it's not the same level.
It's not the same level, and I mean I've done hundreds of track meets. And I'm in the beginning of year 3 in Highland Games. I didn't really have an official first year, but I've already done 20-something games.
Well, honestly, games, and if you foul 3 throws,
yeah,
are you
exactly? I don't
that ate up about it at this point.
Yeah, so strongman is determined. Your success in strongman is determined by the comps you've gone to and the comps you've won, right? So like saying I'm an Arnold level strongman means something to people that do strongman, right? Highland Games, it's like, what's your score? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I qualified for ECCs. Where? Right?
Did you go through a game against 3 dudes?
Right. Like, are you a 5,000 point athlete? Are you a 7,000 point athlete? Are you one of the freaks?
What are you knocking about 5,000 point athletes? Because technically I haven't cracked out of that yet.
No, I'm just saying.
If we're talking about thousands as the degree.
Yeah. I'm just saying that there's a difference there, right?
Oh, we're going to hit a what you need to know before we get into this. But anyway.
Okay. But yeah, so it hasn't been. This might come up at the East Coast Championships because it is a competition where I know that there's going to be higher pressure. Mm-hmm. At the same time,
I'm going to pressure the shit out of you just to make you poop your kilt.
Right. At the same time, I haven't developed enough of a reputation, in my opinion, to have the stress that goes with people having expectations on.
No, I mean outside of what me. Patty and Chad. Right, yeah. Who else is going to be talking to you?
Outside of, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Virginia, no one knows or cares.
No, I don't know half the people that throw on the West Coast.
Right.
If I follow you on Instagram, I love you. But I'm definitely not here to farm meme content.
Right. No, for sure not. But yeah, so this may be something I have to deal with in the future, but so far I haven't really had problems with it. And that could also be that as I lose weight for the Highland Games, I'm not... There's less just tidal volume of food, and so the
The amount of shit you can produce.
Right. Well, and just the amount of shit that could bother me.
Guys, if you're interested in a drinking game, keep up with how many times we talk about poop in this episode.
Yeah, or just in general. It certainly comes up. Yes. I'll continue drinking. But yeah, so no, that in some sports, yeah. In others, no, not at all. Like, it's never affected me arm wrestling, but I've certainly shit myself deadlifting.
I mean, who hasn't?
Like,
you know what the worst thing is? When you have headphones in, and then you feel something squeak out, and you don't know how loud it was.
You don't know how loud you're shitting.
There's like a cute girl down the lane at the gym, and you're like, do I sound like a trombone just went off into my pants?
Right. Like, does it look like sweat, or did I just shit myself?
If you've ever gotten out of a pleather chair and not left a humidity stain, this is not the podcast for you.
Yeah. If fraternity of growth was still a thing, it'd be a good time to plug them. But
okay, so that leads me to my final question on the list of questions. It's only been an hour and 10 minutes. If you could wave a magic wand, logistics are out the window. This is This is incredibly magic.
Right.
We rolled a nat 20, and we get to do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna break this down.
Yeah.
And change one thing about the Highland Games. And this could be horribly out of order and not provide context, because I do think we should cover what people need to know about the Highland Games. And we'll do that before this episode ends. But if you could wave a wand and change one thing, what would it be? We're going to ask every Highland Games athlete that we have onto this what that is.
So, as a narcissist,
let's preface this by saying Matt and I are both narcissists, and there's a reason why we're sitting in a spare room of my home right now, talking to each other into my phone, because we love the sound of our own voices.
More than anything.
God, I'm so hard right now.
It's just, I've never been harder in my life. So,
when you consider the 5 whiskeys I've had,
right,
it's honestly impressive.
It's concerning medically at this point. But, as a narcissist, my first thought was actually my NASCA score.
Okay. That's what you want to wave a wand and change?
Yeah, I'd like to make
just
that.
Update your
9,000. But, no, I think...
Fuck Spencer Tyler.
Right,
Just kidding.
right. Who's John Van Buren? Doesn't exist.
Yeah, but, fuck that guy. He missed 19 feet today. He can get bent.
Yeah,
what a piece of shit. You can't throw 19, John? Get out of here. Too tall, my ass. You're not tall enough.
Thor hit 22. But, yeah, so, that's a good question. I'm trying to stall for time here and think about
it. I'm going to send my kid to get another monster while you keep stalling for time. But if you start to think of it.
Yeah, as soon as it comes to me, I'll...
Yeah. As long as you didn't look through the rest of my phone, we're good.
No, of course not. But, I think... legitimately, if I could change one thing, it would just be the public perception of the sport.
Ooh,
right.
That was a much better answer than I would have thought.
Yeah. So I'm a big guy. I normally have a beard. I have long hair. People look at me in public, right, for lots of reasons. But
if you'd stop sniffing children,
right? Most of my issues would go away if I didn't have the handlebar mustache.
Which you don't have right now.
No, now I'm clean shaven.
Has this week been better for you?
Worse. Yeah. Well, I haven't.
Meanwhile, I'm over here wishing I'd been able to grow facial hair for the last decade because my job won't let me.
Right.
But go on.
So, one of the things that happens a lot when someone says, "Oh, you're big. Do you do sports?" and you say, "Oh yeah, I do strongman." Right? They say, "Oh, it's delicious." They say, "He's drinking the blood of an eagle right now." By the way,
plus it's tiger blood.
Yeah. When people ask, they're like, "Oh, do you do sports? What do you do?"
And this is a Highland orange juice.
Yeah, there we go.
There's our name.
Yeah, perfect.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to mix orange Jameson and orange Sunrise Monster, it's a Highland OJ.
Male orange Jameson to the barn gym. Okay, so
please do.
I don't think we can actually ask people to do that.
I have a friend that's an ABC agent. We'll ask him.
Anyway,
we'll figure it out.
Do whatever you want, unless it's wrong.
We won't ask you to do it, but if you did it.
If you did it, it would be consumed.
We'll drink it.
Absolutely. It could be laced, couldn't be, could be full of poison.
How silly do you want this to get?
Solves the problems. But
I need to pass a drug test for work, though, so please keep that in mind.
Right.
If you want me to still live in a home.
Yeah, can you imagine? But, so when people ask me what I do and I say strongman, they say, "Oh, you flip trees." And it's like, no.
Well, that's their answer to Highland Games, right?
Well, no. When I say I do Highland Games, they say, "Oh, you lift those."
The fuck is that?
They say, "Oh, you lift those stones." Right.
You're getting a different experience than I do.
Right. Well, people asked if I did Iron Man the other day, and
And
right.
were they looking at you?
Right. And
I love you.
I think what they thought was
The word man.
Yeah. Or like people ask about bodybuilding, and it's like I've built up a big rack, but like that's
Yeah.
my quads
Are my arms bigger than yours? Sure.
Right, yeah.
Am I a bodybuilder? No.
Yeah, my
no.
forearms are bigger than my biceps, so
They're
this isn't really
pretty close.
right. Yeah, like I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not here for proportions.
No, my wrists are the size of most people's ankles.
If you think
Like,
aesthetics are what I'm shooting for here,
I
I have a soft tape measure in my bedroom right now. We could make this real weird.
think my wrist might be larger than your ankle.
There's a chance.
Uh,
Mine are really deep this way, though.
yeah, but
Is this what you guys wanted when you came to a podcast? Me talking about how deep my ankles are?
I gotta check the girth on those feet.
Who's
But,
here for the feet talk?
I do this on YouTube. Could add monetization.
So I have an OnlyFans. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Yeah. So I guess it would just be public perception, and I wish people. It used to be on ESPN, and
Oh, man. Wouldn't that be
right.
cool?
It would be cool if it came back.
So your answer would change that. If we
Right.
change public perception, we'd be back on the Ocho.
Right. I wish people were more aware of it,
And
especially.
we're throwing some really good numbers comparatively.
Right.
Now,
I wish people in track and field were aware of this.
no, fuck that, because then I'd lose.
Sure, but something that
I can't beat you. I don't need more of you.
sure, but something.
Aren't you good? Guys, I'm here to represent the everyman in this podcast.
Yeah. Up until like.
I can't wait to hear myself talking in this and
Yeah.
think about how horribly southern it sounds the more I drink.
I'm just saying, up until a week ago, you were taller than me still. So
And now we're almost even.
exactly. So,
If you guys go to my Instagram, at the Kilted Gorilla, there's a picture where I am taller than Matt
substantially.
by
Two or
several
three,
inches,
Yeah.
and it's almost gone.
And yeah, we're about the same height now, and my depression is just about gone. So
Yeah, my
really,
wingspan's still greater, and
I think there's something to be said about spinal compression here, but I'm not a doctor, so. But yeah,
all
so
I'm saying is that Sedalia turned your depression around.
yeah,
It's not about compression.
right? Yeah, compression, depression, what doesn't matter? But stress makes diamonds.
If it rhymes, it's the same.
Oh, yeah, I have said that 80 times. Like if it rhymes, it's true.
I
But,
swear to God, we had the same parent somewhere and we didn't know it.
Well,
But
probably.
Anyway, go on. My dad was a
did.
whore. He's dead now. He can't hear this.
Same. So
Yeah, because it's my dad. It's not
right.
actually your dad.
right, yeah, my surrogate father.
Yeah.
Who I look exactly like. I actually only look like my mom if my
Got
mom's
it.
on
If
film.
I wasn't using my phone to record this, I would show you some pictures that would blow your mind
Yeah.
for several reasons.
Well, you can show me later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it would just to answer that, to surmise.
Some eyes?
In summary,
I know a few English teachers nowadays. We'll run this by them.
yes, yeah,
They're
have them
gonna
listen.
hate this.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. English teachers are idiots, but
Yeah. Teachers and nurses is the only people I know.
and so it would just be to make people more aware of the sport and aware of the ease at which you can get into it.
That would be amazing.
Right. I think that if we just had a little bit more inter-sport education, which is something we're trying to push really hard at the gym, is saying, oh, hey.
And through this potential thing that it is not set, despite what Matt said earlier, but if we're able to pull this off, I can't stress how easy, once you find the avenue to get into this, anyone out there who's like, what do I want to do with a Saturday?
Right.
I have an answer for you.
Absolutely.
You're going to go buy a kilt,
Yep.
and you're going to come grab these implements,
Yeah.
and we're going to have a great time. And I'm going to shit talk you the whole time, but I love you.
And if you don't like the throwing part, and you just like the part where people pick up rocks,
There's a
adjacent
novice
to us,
class. There's a C class.
there's
Go
a
do
novice
2
class,
a year.
and there's another sport for that. There's strongman, or specifically stone lifting, or grip sport, or there are other pathways. And I feel like as niche sports, we need to make people.
Is it niche or niche?
I don't know.
Okay. I've had like 7 Jamesons.
As a quiche sport, I feel like we need
It's a flat pancake.
Yeah, make people aware of the other options that they have, right? I mean, you might show up and say, this is really cool, but I like the dancing, right? And there's an option for you to go and do Highland dance or whatever.
Dude, there is something to where you can pursue whatever you're good at and have a passion and have something that you get to try to be good at regardless of what you like.
Mm-hmm. You don't even have to be good at. I mean,
No, you don't have to be.
Right.
That is I can't stress that enough. You don't have to be good. Me and Matt and everyone are going to love you for showing up. Mm-hmm. Any one of the half a dozen people I've talked to on social media, I genuinely want you to start trying this.
Right.
Like 100%.
So there's something I said. We coach football kids at the gym. There's something I said to them now. Yeah. And so there's something I said to them the other day where it's like, you know, you're coming into my gym and you're fucking up my ratio because of the amount of pro athletes we have. And like, you have to, nothing you're going to do is going to impress me except for effort, right? Like, you're not going to pick up a rock that's bigger than I've seen, or like, you're not going to be able to do anything that's like spectacular other than show effort, right?
Dude, that is the best thing anyone who's new
right
in any gym can do.
Yeah, it's like, you know, check the part at the door. You're not even comparable to our weakest members, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're a niche sport, we're a niche gym, and like we have freaks, and the thing that separates,
and they're going to be some of the nicest freaks you've
sure.
ever met in your life,
sweethearts, you know. But the thing that separates good athletes from great athletes, or horrible athletes from moderately competitive people, is just effort.
And that is The Rock, despite all of his steroids.
Sure. Yeah.
Has said that for years, and that is one of the few things I believe out of his mouth.
Yep.
And it really does make sense. Oh, man. So, I swear at some point Matt is going to mirror all the questions I've asked him.
Eventually.
So I'm not trying to give away the farm. But, like, genuinely, as people I've been in the strength sport world for 6-ish years now.
In the industry, let's talk.
In the industry, yeah. There's a link in my bio.
Right. Buy my supplements.
But yeah. If I know. Anyway, no one wants to sponsor me. I'm an asshole. But legitimately,
welcome to Asshole Labs.
Yeah. I'm gonna start my own supplement company. It's full of tests.
Right.
But this is getting worse. This bottle is almost gone. Legitimately, I am all for people who will just come in the gym. I would rather watch you bench the bar with proper form and with an intent to get better 100 times than some jackass who is coming in here and making it all about himself. I would take that every single time, and I'm going to gravitate towards you, and I'm going to enjoy you being here and you getting better far more than anything else. I am all for it.
How familiar are you with Jim Wendler, 531?
Relatively. Like,
okay, so one of the things that...
We'll get to what started me into this, and powerlifting is going to be a part of that.
Awesome. So one of the things that Jim has talked about when he's talking about coaching football, and I've taken a lot of influence.
I need a urinal in this room.
Yeah.
This is going to be a problem.
Yeah, there's just the sound of pissing into bottles here soon. But one of the things that he harped on, and I've taken a lot of influence from, is, you know, your freak athletes are going to be your freak athletes, right?
There's nothing you can do to stop it.
We're going to have guys.
You can negate steroids
right.
and everything else out of this conversation, and the people that have the best results on steroids are still going to be better than you.
Yeah.
Without them. And I don't say that to be negative. I say that to be encouraging. And I know that sounds weird.
Ronnie Coleman was going to be Ronnie Coleman no matter what he took, right? I mean, that's just...
Yeah. You could limit that man to protein and creatine,
right.
and he was going to look better than I ever looked.
Right. I mean, that's just... There's... But anyway, the thing that makes a football team a great football team isn't making your freaks freakier. It's making your worst guy better than the other team's worst guy. And one of the things that I would love to see in Highland Games is for our worst class of athletes to be competitive or on equal footing with local strongman, local powerlifting, and just raise the bar of competitiveness. The A class, we'll go into what that means. Your premier classes, your A class, your pro class, are always going to be great in any sport, right? They're going to be the exceptions to the rules. They're going to be freaks. They're going to be genetically gifted and work harder than other people. Like, it's going to be a combination of all the right things that go into it. But if we could get our worst athletes better, then our sport would skyrocket, right? If we said that our C class was equivalent to novice or open strongman, then our sport would be much more respected. We have the freaks, but if
Yeah.
you go and watch the games and you see a guy, if you see something and say, I could do that, it's never going to be incredible. And so I would love to see our sport
And I'd
push some education, push some coaching, and
100%. I don't want to kill if you're the guy that comes into the sport and does 2 games a year because your last name is McClanafuck,
right,
or whatever it is. I love you and I want you there, and that is the reason that Bs and novice classes exist. And we don't say that to keep you out of the sport. I want you to show up because you're going to have a great time, and I'm going to have a great time talking to you.
And it's about more than the athletics. There is a cultural side.
Yes, and so that is something that I think we have to consider in our sport more than strongman. Now, strongman in Iceland may consider that more so because you have a population of only like 2 million people or whatever it is. I don't know. We'll have 4 on one day. What? Not far off.
Right.
But and so if you do that to touch base with your roots and whatever, I'm not. We don't say that to keep you out of this at all. That's fine, but we need the depth of talent or the depth of athletes that other sports have found, and I think that would really open up a whole new thing, and we could really do something to push that sport further on. Because if our C class and B class athletes, for those of you that don't know, I swear to God, we'll do an episode or we'll touch on it at some point about what you need to know. But briefly, C/novice, then B, then A, then pro is kind of the overall breakdown of the Highland games. With God, there's so many exceptions because we throw rocks in a field.
Right, yeah.
God, so but
anyway,
we want to get you guys better, and we want you to be better, and we all want to be better because it helps everyone.
Yeah.
There's no downside to it. And if you want this to continue happening, at a certain point, it's going to have to go that way. There's no way to avoid it.
And you can't know your ceiling on things until you actually push it. Right? If I would have if my first competition in Highland Games wouldn't have had pro athletes there, I do not know that I would have continued doing it because I was used to the level of competition that I would get from strongman. By the time I did my first Highland Games, I had already been a top 15 amateur in the world for strongman. I'd already competed at a world championships. I'd already done international competition in strongman. And if I would have gone and taken second at my first comp, which I did, but only by a small margin too, to Jordan Patty, and I zeroed an event.
Fuck Jordan Patty.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. Who does he think he is, being 5'0" nothing?
He's definitely not one of our best friends.
No. We don't love him to death, and I don't look at his picture every night before I go to bed.
No, I definitely didn't just post him and dude. Anyway,
did you post Patty?
Yeah,
you son of a bitch.
I posted you too.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I posted you first.
You better. Good.
With a backwards hat.
I swear to.
But
hey, appreciate it.
I'll drink to that. But yeah, if my first exposure to the games was like, all right, I'm again in my mind decent, in other people's minds high level. Scale matters.
In some people's mind, they're going to discount you because it's your first game ever.
Exactly.
Period.
And I was just strong and I had shitty form in people's mind, even though I'd been a high level track athlete also. But
Did you ever throw a caber throwing track? Don't fucking think so.
No, and it took me 6 games to turn a caber.
That's gross.
Yeah, well, I didn't practice. But
you should have.
Yeah, well, I was a 6,000 point athlete.
Do you have NASGA pulled up on your phone? It's going to come in handy.
Yeah,
it's one of your open bookmarks
at all times. If you hit Google, actually, let's check that.
How good is
before I finish my thought?
Have an ADD.
Let me click.
All right.
I clicked Google. What is it? Yeah.
No.
No, it was a contrarian guide to the discus throws.
He's making that up. That's not even real.
It's loading right
you definitely
now.
shouldn't all look up the contrarian guide and how it creates separation in your shoulders versus your hips.
Yeah.
Don't. There's no takeaway there.
I was joking. Don't try to get better at sports.
Yeah, don't. But, I'd like to actually break the 6,000 this year, and the less of you that compete, the better that's going to go.
What were you even saying?
I was trying to get you pulled NASGA because we were making fun of Patty.
Oh yeah,
We're talking about
if I came into the sport and I took second in a competition that I'd never done before, even with a track background, I wouldn't have thought anything of the sport. I'd have said, "This is a joke. I don't care." Right, and that's why having a pro class is so important, or at least having.
I'm going to have a very similar story without a track background.
There we go. Or at least having a high level A class, or having people that look like they know what they're doing, whether they're throwing far or not, right? Having people that are technically proficient makes a big deal, because you can go out there and throw far and look like an asshole. But the people that look good, you can say, oh, there's something.
Oh, this is something about the athletic throws and that
right.
it's repeatable and
right, exactly. The consistent repeatableness makes something alluring. When I got into strongman, I took last. My first comp, I was dead last. I thought I was hot shit, and I took last.
I won my first show.
Well, there you go. I'd see, and I'd never taken last before, and I was like, oh wow, this is something worth pursuing.
Yeah.
Because I
competed in novice division.
Well, I never did that.
Yeah,
so,
get back.
And so I was like, oh wow, I'm bad at this, so this is worth pursuing, right? Like there's
room to
for growth. I'm not. This isn't like I got into disc golf, and I went and played at the World Championships was in Fredericksburg a couple of years. Of disc golf, yeah. Okay, they make more money.
Is there a minimum level?
They make more money than we do. So
everyone does.
Right.
I make no money.
You're right.
But is there a minimum level of THC in your blood to compete?
Right. You have to have long hair and have a cross country background. But
there's a certain tie-dye uniform.
Right. But I went and did that, and after a couple of months, it's like, oh, I can qualify for the pro league in disc golf. I'd be shit at it, but I'd be on the pro circuit. Go. Right, exactly.
That plays into our argument of a later episode of, are you good at a sport just because someone else could do it better?
Right.
Or are you good at a sport because you're the only one doing it?
Right, yeah. And again, to talk about disc golf for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, no. Hey, this is our podcast, buddy.
Yeah.
Everyone else bends to our whim.
The best in any sport are going to be better than you. And there's always a large gap between being...
And that's why I'm better than some... No, I'm just kidding.
There's a large gap between doing something and even being considered a professional and being the best, right? There are guys that are... Like, they would do courses in 30 or 40, and it's measured the same as golf is. Like, if I had 120...
Don't golf.
It doesn't matter. But, there are guys that are 50 or 60% better... in the pro rankings, you know what I mean? So it's being
so there's always gaps.
Yeah,
and that's something I want to talk about one day is those jumps that you tend to see in our sport and every sport of your 4,500 point NASGA athlete to your 5,000 point NASGA athlete to your 6 to your 65 plus.
Yep. And then even in the 7s, like...
Can we get sponsored by Jameson?
I would love that. Yeah.
Jen Byers, if you're listening to this and you can get us a sponsorship through the Virginia ABC, I would greatly appreciate that.
But even in NASCAR right now, if you're looking at amateurs, there are 8 of us between 7,000 of us between 7,000 and 7,100.
I'm really trying to keep myself from going down a rabbit hole here because I could talk forever about that.
And then there's guys at 73 and then there's guys at 75.
I'm trying to keep us on a first episode mentality here. And not give away the farm, because we could just talk for 9 hours and accomplish nothing.
But so there's a big gap there. But anyway,
and I'd say that's present without going into too much detail. We'll save this for another day. With every sport, you see those jumps.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, they exist. So it's strongman from your guys that start pulling 500 pounds to 700 pounds to $1,000. And with Highland Games, it's your 30-foot heavyweights and down to your 20-foot heavyweights, but then up to your 40-foot heavyweights.
Under 30, 35, over 40.
Every sport, like if you were to eventually be autistic enough to stare at it, which you and I are, and make spreadsheets in our spare time. It's a different ability, Matt. But you're going to see it across every sport, and it's there, no matter which way you want to cut it. And I'm sure it's there in all the sports I don't follow. It's probably there in baseball and basketball and any sort of measurable metric you have.
Right.
There are going to be noticeable gaps where statistically, if you were to plot it out, there's not going to be a difference in between point A and point B.
So to go back to your question, I think the thing I would change.
Oh my God! This started with the question of waving a wand, and you said public perception, and now we're talking about NASGA points.
But I'm changing it.
Okay.
To just education of people already in the sport, because that would change,
as opposed to people outside of the sport.
That would change public perception, right? If our sport is doing better,
but would it?
I think so.
Because I think you do have
better received,
relatively quote unquote deep pool of people in this sport who are well educated, and the public still doesn't know.
I think that as long as our
You sweet summer child.
lower... As long
So
as
you're saying the C...
lower
Matt
class
McDougal
is-
said the C class is the problem. No.
Well, yes.
We love you all, and we want you to keep doing this and get better, and we will help you if you find us.
I certainly want you all to get better. I'll stick with that.
God, we are not going to get any sponsors for this.
Yes.
Thank God I own this phone.
The chances of getting a pro card off the table, if only we were hosting our own
100%.
games and could decide.
We're
who
only
was
going to throw a pro at Chad's games because we like his beard.
Chad Narones, because that's what determines being a pro in this sport. Is you just announce.
Look,
your
if we just
intentions.
pay ourselves enough, we're pros.
That is quite legitimately how it works. And then when you apply for other games, they would say, "I've thought about this." And then you apply for other games and say, "Oh, who have you thrown?"
Yeah, we've all thought about all of it because
Right.
we're neurodivergent, Matt. I don't know if you know this, but our brains don't work the same way as other people's.
Yeah. Are you a pro? Oh, I threw a Jeremy Futrell's game as a pro. Oh, so yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
bet.
Great. So yeah, we'll see if Alex goes for that. But
Alex, we love you, Alex.
yeah.
Anyway,
We love everyone.
we love everyone, and if you ever want to invite any of us to a game, we're here for it. Am I throwing good enough to it? I don't think so, but Matt might be.
You know, if you go to NASCAR,
But I'll take my shirt off.
If you look at the pro
If you look at the
points,
points,
and you look at your points, and sure, some of them are missing numbers,
God.
but like,
I don't like to play that because while it is fun and it is an ego boost, and we can get into that if you ever ask me questions on this,
eventually,
but by
podcast.
episode 7, on a different podcast,
Right.
listen to the Barn Gems podcast. No,
right, yeah.
but no, and that is a really good ego boost. But I do, God, it's hard to be humble, but I try to be.
Yeah,
I know that I'm not actually good at this.
I
But I'm kind of funny, and I'm tall and halfway good looking, so if you guys want to follow me on Instagram.
So one of the things that, we'll get into this later. I'll talk about
100%.
what being a pro on games.
Oh, that's going to be a one-turn episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, guys, so we are going to call our little episodes where me and Matt just get together and drink and talk shit one-turns.
Is that different?
Because if you're not doing them, you're wrong.
Yes. Truthfully, if you're not fronting the heavyweight for distance in comp,
If you can't Braemar a heavyweight, you shouldn't be an A.
exactly. I mean,
Now, can I Braemar it very far? No. Hell, I can't full throw it very far if you really look at the grand scheme of things. 29 feet ain't much,
some people will
but
argue
it's
that
honest work.
strength doesn't really matter for the Highland games, and those
People are wrong.
are wrong. Like, they're just
Fundamentally incorrect.
show me the good one, and
What's Spencer Tyler at his peak? What did he clean or pull?
He had like an
or-
800 pull and a 400 log, so as
I'd
far
say
as-
that being strong helps.
I'd say it's good enough. Yeah,
And everyone that likes to claim outliers as you can't call them that because they're outliers, you're fundamentally wrong.
I feel like there are
Because if we don't have a goal, what are we doing?
when you have maybe 20 pros to compete every year, you're 2025.
Which is what is the current pro count? It's less than 20, isn't it?
People that competed so far, I think is 19.
Which, again, I don't know when this will air. So for anyone listening, we are recording this on Father's Day in June of 2023.
Yeah.
This could air in 2025. I don't know. But
Yeah, as of right now, there have been about, let's call it 20. And 5 or 6 of them are either elite
great athletes.
powerlifters, or could be, Arnold level or pro strongman, or
if they should try.
if they so desire to press it, being good at being strong. And
Take
athletic
3
means
months
do
to
that.
train for it, and I would argue that you could take 8 out of the top 10, which is 80%, which is
Yeah.
statistically valuable of the pro Highland Games athletes and turn them into competitive strongman athletes.
Yeah,
If I can be almost, again, I try to stay humble. If I can be almost competitive at a strongman show, you can too.
right. So exactly. So when people make the argument of strength doesn't matter,
You're wrong.
you're wrong. Like,
Because if you can't put 150 pounds over your head,
right.
I am genuinely worried about you and your longevity of the sport.
When I got into throwing, one of the metrics
As a heavyweight male, I just
Yes.
There's your asterisk.
well, so mine is actually regardless of weight. So my
okay.
point
It
is,
hit me with your.
my
We're an
dad's
hour
rule
40 into this.
was you are not strong enough as a in the gym to throw well if you can't overhead squat your body weight.
Ooh, I don't know that I can do that.
Well, that was the mark.
Well, so here's my caveat.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can do that having never trained that movement.
Sure. We'll start training it.
You give me 4 months, and
Right.
I'm relatively confident that I could. Especially right now, I have dropped down to a what I consider my peak body weight
Right.
over the last year, and I think it's why my throws have come up the way they have, because I think I'm operating at a weight that my body is comfortable at and proficient at.
I think it's a good measure of general.
I could front squat my body weight for several reps.
Yeah. I did a 5x5 at 405 the other
Yeah,
day.
get fucked.
Right.
So.
You're
strong. Good for you. Get out of here, you chicken. I've turned more cabers than you. Get fucked. Technically more. I don't know. This is okay. We are going to create a spreadsheet. So prolific and so skewed.
What's the total distance of your best throws versus the total distance of mine, and how many games
Ooh, that would be a fun one to put together.
What's your Nazca Wilkes, right? Like, what's your...
Guys, we're going to open our own scoring sheet, and it's going to be Wilkes based, but for throws. And Matt's going to suck ass.
Yeah.
Take that for being 100 pounds heavier than me.
Right.
Chicken shit.
Yeah.
That was if you scale down your throws down 100 pounds body weight.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You can get bent.
Garbage at everything. I mean, really. Yeah, I'd be bad.
I love people that will use metrics like that. We're not gonna. We have to swear to each other not to go down a rabbit hole right now.
I'm trying to wrap up my part.
I swear to God,
Before
you've taken up almost 2 hours.
Do you have any other questions?
God, that was so sexy.
For me.
No, my last question was the last one we asked of a magic wand, and that was 30 minutes ago.
Okay. Save this for yours.
I would love to see us break down a per pound per foot of throw.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I'd argue that I'm doing okay for this sport.
For sure. I mean, so my body weight is, 50% more than yours.
Is it worth?
Are you 240 or 260?
255.
Okay, so just under 50.
Is my average.
Right?
Yeah.
And my throws are not 50% better. So, no, they're not.
Wilkes-wise, we're doing the same.
Right.
So do we want to give, if this is going to, because we've both been drinking, there's a solid chance we may go down this rabbit hole. Do we want to give people a broad, because, I don't know, let's say hypothetically this podcast goes well.
Sure.
And people that have never competed in the Highland Games decide to listen to this.
Sure.
Do we want to give them a breakdown very, very quickly of what Nazca points are and what good versus moderate versus bad throws are? And we have to try to rein it into those points without going in on... Because we'll go in depth on another episode, I promise. We will get together and drink another day.
I think that we should go...
Is there a benefit to this?
Is there a benefit to any of this?
There's no benefit to any of this. You're going to gain 1 member.
Right. And I'm going to lose 4.
This is brought to you by the Barn Gym.
Right. Yeah.
And all of the views expressly... No.
Let's keep this another... I think we should call this one here and interview you.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Then here's what we're going to call episode 1 the Matt McDougal episode.
Yeah.
Experience. Yeah. I love that.
Experience.
Okay. Then we're going to take a break. I'm definitely not going to go pee for the 7th time.
No.
We're going to come back and interview me when I've had 8 drinks.
Yeah.
I like that, buddy.
I think I have another bottle in the car.
As you should. I have wild turkey in the kitchen.
I think I have crack.
And it's not a literal turkey.
Yeah.
Which, despite all the dead animals in my home, is pretty amazing.
It is. You have quite the collection of dead animals.
That one deer is pretty impressive, and I just want to mention that on the podcast. Okay.